The sword stops a hair from my eye, close enough that I can see my own face bent in the steel, close enough to feel the cold rolling off the edge. 300th, Instructor Vance says. Out of 300, the arena laughs. All of them. 300 cadets in their house colors packed into the ranking gallery, and every single one is laughing at the boy in the gray Mender's coat who came dead last. I keep my eyes open. I don't flinch. That is the one thing they cannot stand about me, that I will not flinch. In the corner of my vision, where no one else in the world can see it, a single line of pale text hangs in the empty air. Ledger, 4,120. That is how much I am holding right now. That is how many different ways I could end the man pointing a sword at my face, and he would never feel the first one coming. I bow instead. Low. Polite. Yes, Instructor. Vance lowers the blade, disappointed. He wanted the flinch. They always want the flinch. A man does not draw steel on a student at a ranking unless he is hoping the student will give him a reason, and I have made a study of never giving anyone a reason. Mender Arden, he announces loud for the gallery. Charity placement. No house. No sponsor. Combat rating, he pauses, savoring at 0. More laughter. A boy near the front of the Hallowell tier laughs hardest of all, and I mark him without looking. The way you mark a loose stone on a stair you will have to climb again. I let them. I have learned that the cheapest thing in the world is the last word, and the most expensive is the thing you know that no one else does. Let me tell you how a Mender's life works, since you will need to understand it for the rest of this. At 17, everyone awakens. The world reaches into you and pulls out a class and a rank, and from that morning on, the class is the only thing about you that matters. FEDCBAS and the 3 that live in stories. Your rank decides what work you may do, what district you may live in, whom you may marry, how much your corpse is worth to the crown. There are flame callers who can melt a gate. There are bulwarks who can stand under a falling tower. There are beast lords and storm callers and blade zingers, and the academies bleed gold to train them, because one S rank is worth a legion. And then there are menders. 3 in 10,000 awakened come out a mender. We close wounds. That is all the world thinks we do. Close a cut, knit a bone, stop a soldier bleeding out long enough for someone important to make a decision. The lowest support class on the board. The Crown values a mender's life at 5 silver, the exact cost of the bandages we are issued. They do the arithmetic out loud, in the requisition halls, where we can hear it. 71 of every 100 menders die in their first year on the breach line. Not because the monsters hunt us. Because when the retreat horn sounds, the soldiers run, and the medic is the one still kneeling in the mud with his hands inside someone's chest. So when Instructor Vance says my combat rating is 0, the gallery laughs because it is funny that a thing worth 5 silver was allowed through the gates of Caldress Royal Academy at all. They do not laugh at the ledger because they cannot see it. Nobody can see it. Not the instructors. Not the Crown assessors with their measuring stones. Not even other menders on the rare day I have met one. The morning I awakened, the world handed every other child a class and a number, and it handed me a quiet, pale book that only opens behind my own eyes. Here is the rule. The only rule that has ever mattered to me. When I heal someone, the world keeps a record of it. Every point of harm I take out of a body, it writes into my ledger as a debt owed to me. And a debt can be called back. I can spend it 3 ways. I can pour it into myself, turn it into muscle, into speed, into something the assessors would call a stat, though that costs me 2 from the ledger for every one I keep. I can hold it and let the number climb. Or I can collect it. Reach toward a living thing and pull the debt back out of the air, and the harm I once undid lands on them, all at once the way water finds the lowest floor. It does not care about armor. It does not care about wards or barriers or an S-rank's hide. It is not an attack. It is the simple unmaking of a healing that was never theirs. You begin to understand, perhaps, why I bow when a man puts a sword to my eye and feel nothing but patience. There is a 4th thing the book can do. I have never told anyone because there is no one to tell. If I ever try to heal a wound bigger than the whole of what I am holding, the ledger does not stop at empty. It goes past it, into the red, into debt. And a mender who owes his own book is the most fragile thing alive, a man who has spent not only his fortune but the floor under it. I have never gone there. I think about it the way you think about the edge of a high roof. Useful to know it is there. Better never to need it. The ranking ends. 300th out of 300. The bottom 30 are culled at the close of every term, sent down to the breach line where the Academy's failures go to be worth 5 silver. I am 30 places below the line and falling, and I have 11 weeks. I file out with the rest of the gray coats. There are 4 of us Menders this year. 3 of us pretend that means something. The 4th is honest about it. 300th. Tobin falls into step beside me, older than the rest of us, with the flat voice of a man who has already done the arithmetic and not liked the answer. You know what 300th means, Arden. Same thing it means for all 4 of us, just sooner. They don't fail us out. They harvest us. 11 weeks in the cull list eats whoever's on the bottom, and gray coats are always on the bottom. He claps my shoulder, almost kind. Don't climb. It only makes them notice you. Just keep your head down and hope the line's quiet the season they send you. He peels off toward the dormitory. By spring, I think, there will likely be one of us left, and Tobin has already decided it will not be him by deciding to stop trying. The 4th gray coat does not say anything at all. She just walks half a step behind me the way she has since the first week, because I am the only one of the 4 who has never once made her feel like a burden. Her name is Wren. She is 16. They awakened her early, which is supposed to be lucky, and was not. She has a mender's hands and a child's fear, and when the gallery laughs at me, she flinches like the laugh is meant for her, because it is, a little. We are interchangeable to them. Gray coats. 5 silver each. You let him put a sword to your face, she says quietly when the others are gone. You didn't even move. Moving is what he wanted. How are you not afraid? I think about how to answer that honestly, without telling her the one thing I cannot tell anyone. Because being afraid never closed a single wound, I say. And closing wounds is the only thing either of us is good for. So we get very, very good at it, and we let them think that's nothing. I glance at her. Stay near me on the line when it comes. Whatever else happens, stay where I can reach you. She nods like it is a promise she is afraid to believe in. I mean it as one. The arena empties into the lower yard, and that is where I find the boy. His name is Pim. He cannot be more than 12, a stable hand, not a cadet, the kind of person the Hallowell tier does not see even when they are looking at him. He is crouched against the tackroom wall with his right hand cradled in his lap, and his face is the gray-green of someone trying very hard not to scream in front of strangers. Let me see, I tell him. You're a cadet, he says it like an apology. Like a mender's coat is still a coat that matters, and he should not be wasting it. I'm the worst cadet in the school, I say. Let me see. The hand is bad. A loaded cart, a slipped brake, 3 fingers crushed flat to the wrist. The kind of wound that, untreated, means a boy who can never hold work again. The kind of wound that, in this city, means a slow road to nothing, to a corner, to a begging bowl, to a district where the only healer who would come is worth 5 silver and never makes the trip. I have seen that road. I will not let a child start down it over a slipped brake. I close my hand over his and let the warmth go in. To anyone watching, it is the dull gray glow of the lowest class on the board. Nothing worth a second look. Bone slides back under the skin. The crush eases. Pim makes a small sound and stops shaking. Behind my eyes, the world keeps its record. Ledger. Plus 600. Balance 4,720. 600. The exact weight of the harm I just took out of him, written down, mine to keep. This is the thing they will never understand, the men with their swords and their numbers. Every time they sneer and turn away from the mender, every wound I am too lowly to be thanked for closing, the book is filling. The more invisible I am, the more dangerous I become. I do not climb toward power. I am handed it quietly by a world that thinks it is being generous to let me near its wounded at all. There, I tell Pim. Don't lift with it for a day. He turns the hand over, opening and closing it, staring like it belongs to someone else. I can't pay you. I know I am already standing. You never have to. I mean it, too. The boy owes me nothing. The ledger does not work the way the city works. It only fills when I give. That is the part no one believes when I say it, so I have stopped saying it. I just give and let them think me a fool and let the book do its quiet arithmetic behind my eyes. I am 3 steps toward the dormitory arch when a shoulder catches mine and turns the world sideways. You dropped something 5 silver. Bryce Hallowell. A rank Bladesinger's, second in the whole year, and a face that has never once in its life been told no. He has my satchel, knocked off my shoulder, and he is holding it out over the open mouth of the yard cistern, smiling the easy smile of a boy doing a thing he knows he will not be punished for. Inside the satchel is everything I own. A spare coat. My mother's letter, soft at the folds from how many times I have opened it. The 5 silver the Crown issued me, which is, I am reminded daily, the price of me. Beg, Bryce says. The cadets with him grin. Menders are good at begging, aren't they? On your knees in the mud, hands out. Show us. Behind me I feel Ren go very still, the way Prey goes still. She is afraid he will turn on her next. She is right to be. I look at him. I look at the satchel over the water. And in the corner of my eye the pale number waits, patient as I am. 4,720. I could collect 600 onto him right now and watch his sword arm, that perfect, expensive A-rank arm, simply stop working in front of everyone. I could collect 4,000 and they would be scraping him off the flagstones. I do neither. It is far too early, and an apex predator that shows its teeth in week 1 does not live to week 11. But I am also not a saint. I have never claimed to be. So I reach, not with my hand, with the book, the smallest thread of it. 11 points. A number so small it will read, to him and to every healer he ever sees, as nothing. As a cramp. As bad sleep. Collect. -11. Target Bryce Hallowell. Bryce's grip twitches. Just once. The satchel slips from his fingers, not into the cistern, but to the stones at my feet, because for half a heartbeat the hand that has never failed him forgot how to close. He frowns at his own fingers. Flexes them. The grin comes back, but slower. Pick it up, he tells me, covering. Crawl for it. I pick up my satchel. I do not crawl. I look at him while I do it, calm and unhurried, and I watch the small confusion move behind his eyes, the first faint suspicion that the world did something just now that it was not supposed to do. Thank you, Hallowell, I say. It unsettles him more than spitting would. I have found that it always does. A bully runs on the fear he can feel coming off people. When you give him nothing to feed on, he starts, very privately, to be afraid of you and cannot say why. I walk away with my satchel and my 5 silver and 4,709 ways to kill anyone in that yard, and not one of them knows a single thing has happened. Ren catches up at the arch. Your hand, she whispers. When you picked up the bag. Did you? I felt something. Like a draft, but warm. Going the wrong way. I look at her a moment longer than I mean to. She is a Mender. Of all the people in Caldris, she is the only one who might ever feel the edge of what I do. It was nothing, I tell her. Bad sleep. Get some rest. She does not believe me. But she lets it go because she has learned the way the powerless learn when a kindness wants to keep its secrets. The notice is pinned to the dormitory board. I see the crowd around it before I see the paper, cadets reading it and turning to look back at me, that particular hush that means someone has arranged for something to go badly for someone else. I read it over a tall boy's shoulder. Supplementary field evaluation. Live breach. Sector 9. And then the list of names assigned to it, 6 of them, and at the very bottom, beneath 5 combat cadets who all deserve the honor. Arden. Mender. A live breach. Not a training pit. A real tier in the world with real things coming out of it, and a Mender attached to the squad the way a Mender always is, as the thing you leave behind when the horn sounds. Tomorrow. Dawn. Instructor Vance has signed it himself. Of course he has. He could not make me flinch in the arena, so he is sending me somewhere that flinching will not be a choice. A clean accident. A 5 silver line item closed before the cull even has to bother. Across the yard in the long shadow of the flame hall, someone is watching the crowd watch me. She stands apart from all of it, the way the very top of the rankings always stands apart. Crimson coat. Pale hair pulled back hard. A face I have seen on 100 recruitment banners and never once in person. Seraphine Valecrest, S rank, first of 300, the prodigy the whole academy is built around. She is not looking at the notice. She is looking at me. And for just a moment, under the cold and the contempt that the top of the board wears like a uniform, I see something the rest of them are too busy laughing to notice. She presses one hand flat against the stone column beside her, very carefully, the way a person steadies themselves when the ground has tilted and they cannot let anyone see it. Her knuckles are white. There is sweat at her hairline in a yard gone cold with evening. No one else is looking at her. No one else ever looks at the strongest person in the room and thinks to ask if she is dying. But I am a mender. Reading what is killing a body is the one thing the world made me for. And I can see it on her like a brand. That night I do not sleep. I sit on my bunk with my mother's letter open on my knees, not reading it. I have it by heart, just holding it, the way you hold a hand. She wrote it the winter before the wound, when she still thought there would be time for me to read it as a man. There was not. There was a fever and a cut gone bad, and 2 days in a cold room in a district where the only mender who could have closed it in 30 seconds did the arithmetic and stayed home. 5 silver was not worth the trip. I was 9. I have been doing arithmetic of my own ever since. Tomorrow they will send me to a breach to be worth 5 silver. I fold the letter back into its softness and put it away, and I do not feel afraid, and I do not feel brave. I feel patient. The book is full. The line is rich ground. Let them send me where the wounded are. The horn sounds at dawn, and Sector 9 is already screaming. A breach is not a door. It is a wound in the world, and the world bleeds the same way a body does, badly and from the inside. By the time our squad reaches the line, the tier is 40 feet of weeping black light, and the things that come out of it are already among the soldiers. Mender stays back, the squad lead says, not looking at me. Mender stays alive long enough to be useful. That's it. His name is Corwin. B rank. He will be the first one to run. They always are. I count the field while the cadets form up. 6 of us from the academy, 40 crowned soldiers, and a number none of them can see hanging in the corner of my eye. Ledger. 4,709. My entire savings earned one stranger at a time. Today I intend to make it grow. The first wave hits. Breach hounds rank 1, fast and stupid and endless. A soldier goes down 3 paces from me with his thigh open to the bone. Corwin is already shouting the formation back. Nobody stops for the soldier. I do. I drop to my knees in the mud and put both hands on the wound, and I let the warmth go in. Don't, the soldier gasps. I'm not worth, they'll leave you. I know what I'm worth, I tell him. 5 silver. Hold still. The leg closes. The world keeps its record. Ledger. Plus 1,900. Balance 6,609. He stares at me. His name is Garin. He has a wife in the 3rd district, and he tells me so, fast the way men do when they have just decided they are going to live after all. They always stare. I move to the next one before he can thank me, because thanks slow me down and the book does not need them. This is the secret of the breach line, the thing 71 of 100 menders die never understanding. The carnage that kills us is the richest ground in the world. Every wound is a deposit. I crawl the line on my hands and knees while the cadets hold the wall, and I heal, and the number behind my eyes climbs like a tide coming in. A spearman, gut torn, holding his own belly closed with both hands. I take it off him. Plus 2,200. A young stormcaller with her arm half off and the lightning gone out of her eyes. I knit it back to her shoulder and the lightning comes back. Plus 2,600. A cadet I recognize, one of the boys who laughed loudest in the gallery yesterday, dragged back from the wall with his ribs caved. He recognizes me too, through the pain, and his face does something complicated because the 5 silver life he laughed at is the only reason he is going to keep breathing. I close his chest anyway. I do not say anything. I do not have to. The look on his face is worth more than any word I could spend on it. Plus 1,800. The wall buckles on the left, where a B-rank cadet named Hale is holding 3 breach hounds off a knot of wounded with a shield that has started to crack down the middle. He will not ask me for help. None of them ever do. A gray coat is the thing you call for after the fighting, never during. So I do not wait to be asked. I close the gash on the soldier bleeding at his feet, bank it, and spend a single thread of it through the lead hound's spine, so the thing simply lies down mid-leap, folding into the dirt as if it had decided to sleep. Hale's shield holds. The line holds. He never knows that the Mender crouched behind him is the only reason he is alive to keep sneering at gray coats tomorrow. That is the work. Quiet. Deniable. Mine. A spearman I patched 10 minutes ago catches my sleeve as I pass. "Your name," he says, gripping hard, the way men grip when they have just decided they are going to live after all. "Whatever they call you in there, I want the real one." So I know who to thank. "Just the Mender," I tell him, and move on, because a name is a thing they can write on a cull list, and I have learned to give the world as few of mine as I can. The third wave comes, and I meet it the only way a Mender ever meets anything. On my knees in the mud, hands already moving before the body in front of me has finished falling. Plus 900. Plus 1,200. A first-year runner younger than Ren, sent forward by someone who should be hanged for it, takes a claw across the face, and I close his eye before he can understand he nearly lost it. He looks at me with the whole of his small life in his face. I have to turn away. There is more work, and grief is a luxury for after. There is always more work, and it is always for after. By the time the second wave breaks, I am no longer a 5 silver life kneeling in the mud. Ledger, 11,400. And then the ground splits, and the thing that comes out of the deeper dark is not rank 1. A gravmaw. A rank. 8 feet of gray hide layered like a fortress wall, the kind of monster a squad of cadets is meant to delay and die against until a real S rank arrives. Corwin takes one look and gives the order I knew he would give. Fall back. Mender, a beat while he decides whether to even finish the sentence. Mender, hold the rear. Hold the rear. Stay and die so the retreat has a few more seconds. The horn screams. The line breaks. Boots in the mud, all of them running. Corwin first, exactly as I knew he would be, and then it is just me and the wounded who cannot run, and 8 feet of armored death deciding which of us to open first. The gravmaw looks at me. A gray coat. The smallest thing on the field. It does not understand what it is looking at. Nobody ever does. You should have chased the others, I tell it. I reach for the book. Not to spend a thread this time. To spend a fortune. Collect. Minus 9,000. Target the gravmaw. There is no light. No sound. The ledger does not announce itself the way a flamecaller announces a fireball, with heat and spectacle and warning. It simply calls in a debt the world owes me, and routes it through the nearest body, and a hide that could turn aside an S-rank's blade means exactly nothing, because I am not striking the hide. I am unhealing the thing inside it. 9,000 points of harm bloom through the gravmaw all at once from the marrow outward. It does not roar. It folds. 8 feet of fortress monster simply stops being a living arrangement and becomes a falling weight, and the ground shakes once when it lands, and then Sector 9 is quiet except for the wounded breathing. Ledger, 2,400. I spent almost everything. It was worth it. I kneel back down and start closing the men the retreat left to die, and the number begins patiently to climb again. Garen helping me now, dragging the wounded into reach. The spearmen. 3 soldiers their own squad abandoned. Each one a deposit. By the time it is done, the book is heavy again, and 40 men who should be dead are breathing, and the only thing in Sector 9 that did not survive is the monster a whole squad ran from. That is how the instructors find me an hour later when an actual S-rank response team arrives to a breach that is already sealed and an A-rank gravemaw already dead, with no wound on it that any of them can explain, and a single gray-coated Mender, alive, kneeling in the gore, calmly healing the men he was told to die beside. Who killed it, the S-rank captain demands. He nudges the corpse with his boot. No blade mark. No burn. No frost. Nothing. Who killed the gravemaw? It was already dead when I got to the rear, sir, I say, eyes down. Dead of what? I'm a Mender, sir. I don't know how things die, only how they're hurt. He stares at me a long moment. He does not believe me. But he cannot prove a thing, and a dead monster is a dead monster, and Menders do not kill A-ranks, so the report writes itself into a comfortable lie. Cause of death unknown. Assume prior engagement. Garen behind me opens his mouth to say something, and I catch his eye and shake my head just once, and he closes it again. He will tell his wife. He will tell no one else. That is enough. It is Instructor Vance arriving with the cleanup whose face I watch instead. He sent me here to die. And here I am kneeling and alive while his clean little accident lies cooling in the mud the size of a house. He does not look relieved. He looks for the first time afraid of me. Good. Let him wonder. We march back to Caldress in the long gold light of late afternoon, and the squad that left me to die cannot meet my eyes. Corwin walks at the front where a squad lead walks, but the soldiers have rearranged themselves around me without seeming to decide to, the way iron filings arrange themselves around a thing they cannot see. Garin walks at my shoulder the whole way and does not say a word, and his silence is louder than any speech. At the gate, Corwin finds his voice. He pulls me aside, out of the soldiers' hearing, and his face is doing the work of a man who needs a story for his report and has realized the only witness who matters is the one he abandoned. Whatever happened back there, he says, low, you were unconscious for the worst of it. The Gravma was down before you woke. You don't know how it died. That's what you'll say if anyone asks. We clear? That's already what I told the captain, I say. Word for word. You can relax, Corwin. Relief floods his face, and then curdles because he understands that I did not protect him out of fear the way a 5 silver life protects a B rank. I protected the story because the story is mine, and a man who can hand you your own lie back neatly folded is a man who owns you a little. He walks away faster than he came. Ren is waiting inside the gate. She has been waiting all day, I think, by the look of her, the look of someone who counted 6 names on a notice and could not make herself stop counting one of them. When she sees me, she does not run, because gray coats learn early not to make a scene, but her whole body changes, the way a held breath changes when it is finally let go. You came back, she says. I came back. They sent a Mender to a live breach to die, and you came back. She is looking at the blood on my coat, none of it mine. How much of that is yours? None of it. I see the question she is too frightened to ask, so I answer it. And no, I'm not going to tell you how. Not because I don't trust you. Because the less you can be made to say, the safer you are. Do you understand me, Ren? Whatever I am, you don't know. That's a gift. Keep it. That night I sit alone in the wash house and scrub a dead man's blood out of gray wool by lamplight, and I do not feel like a legend whatever the soldiers are whispering. I feel like a boy who knelt in the mud all day so that 40 strangers could go home, and who is, by the only ledger the crown keeps, still worth exactly 5 silver. The book behind my eyes says otherwise. The world has not caught up to the book. Not yet. I do not get to savor it because that evening the strongest student in the academy collapses in the flame hall, and I am the only person who knows it is not exhaustion. I have been watching her for a day. Seraphine Valecrest, first of 300, with sweat at her hairline in a cold yard and white knuckles against a stone column. A Mender reads bodies the way other people read faces, and hers has been spelling out the same word since the moment I saw her. Burning. So when the rumor races through the dormitory, Valecrest's down, they've sealed the flame hall, the healers can't wake her. I am already moving. Ren catches my sleeve as I pass, and I tell her to stay, and for once she does not. She follows me to the door of the flame hall and stops there, watching, because she has felt the wrongness in me and she wants to see what it is for. The crown healers are clustered around her cot when I slip in behind a supply cart. 3 of them. C rank, B rank, the academy's best. They are pouring mana into her, and it is doing nothing, and I can see exactly why, because I am the only one in the room looking at the right thing. Her own power is killing her. Mana scorch, every flamecaller's quiet dread. The gift that makes her first of 300 is burning her from the inside, a little more with every spell she has ever cast, and it has finally reached something vital. The healers are trying to pour water into a vessel that is on fire. You cannot heal a burn that is still burning. But I do not heal burns. I keep ledgers. Move, I say. You're a Mender, the B rank says, the way you would say you're a child. Yes, I say. I am. Move. I do not wait for permission. I put my hand against Seraphine Valecrest's sternum, over a heart laboring like a bellows, and instead of pouring warmth in, I reach into the fire and I start taking it out, pulling the scorch off her nerves and her blood and the walls of her heart, undoing the burn breath by breath and writing every scrap of it into the book. The numbers come fast and do not slow because she has been burning for years and the debt of it is enormous. Plus 400, plus 900, plus 1,700, plus 3,000. The healers have stopped trying to stop me. They have gone quiet the way people go quiet when they realize they are watching something they will spend the rest of their lives failing to explain. Her color comes back. The labor goes out of her heart. Plus 4,000. The book grows heavy and hot with the fire I am taking off her. Her breathing eases. The gray leaves her lips. By the time I lift my hand, she is asleep, truly asleep, the first real sleep she has had in I do not know how long, and the number behind my eyes has become something I have never held before. Ledger. 16,000. I did not cure her. I want to be honest about that, even here, even to myself. I pulled her back from the edge. The fire is still in her, down at the root. It will build again. But she will wake up. She will live to be insufferable another day. She wakes before I can leave. Her eyes open, gold, and far too sharp for someone who was dying a minute ago, and they fix on me, on the gray coat, on the worst-ranked cadet in the school crouched over the best one with his hand at her chest. You, she breathes. Not a question. You should rest, I say, and stand. What did you do to me? I closed a wound. It's the only thing I'm good for. I am already at the cart, already leaving. You owe me nothing. Sleep. But I can feel her stare on my back the whole way out, and I know that look. It is not gratitude. Gratitude is easy. It is the look of someone proud who has just been saved by the one person in the world she would least have chosen, and who has realized lying there that she now owes her life to a 5-silver mender and does not know yet whether she hates that more than she hates dying. Ren is still at the door when I come out. She does not ask what I did. She just looks at me with something new in her face, something between fear and hope, and says very quietly, "They say it can't be healed." The scorch. They say no one can. A pause. But you did, didn't you? Go to bed, Ren. Could you teach me, she says, and it is the bravest thing I have heard her say. Whatever it is. So I'm not just 5 silver. I look at her a long time. It can't be taught, I tell her gently, because it is the truth. But staying near me can be learned. So learn that. It'll keep you alive longer than anything they teach in the pits. Either way, Seraphine Valecrest is awake, and she has questions. And people like her do not stop asking. The practical evaluations are where the rankings are decided, and the rankings are where I have 11 weeks to climb 30 places or die on the breach line for good. So I climb. Carefully. A man holding a fortune behind his eyes can afford to be patient about how he spends it. The support trial comes first, and it is built to humiliate Menders. 12 wounded soldiers, academy staff, painted with mock injuries keyed to bleed-out timers, scattered across a ruined field. The record held for 9 years by a celebrated S-rank healer is 6 men stabilized in 15 minutes. The proctors expect a gray coat to manage 2, maybe 3, and stand there sweating while the timers run out and the gallery laughs. I do 12 in 9. I do not even use the book. I simply do the one thing I have done 10,000 times for free in districts where no real healer would ever come, and I do it faster than anyone watching has ever seen it done. A punctured lung closed 4 seconds. A severed artery pinched, sealed, moving. Hands, warmth, move. Hands, warmth, move. I do not run between them. Running wastes breath. I walk, and I am still done before the fastest healer in Academy history was half finished. When the bell rings, the evaluators are standing in silence, and the timer on the last man reads 6 minutes remaining. 300th to 241st in a single morning. The gallery is not laughing now. Bryce Hallowell makes sure it starts again. He catches me in the colonnade after, with his usual audience, and his easy smile has an edge under it now that I put there in the yard without him knowing. Lucky trial, he says. Bandaging. A trained dog can bandage. Let's see the 5 silver in a real fight. He raises his voice for the gallery. Sanctioned duel. Me and the Mender. Unless he'd rather crawl. Beside him, a cadet I have come to know by reputation laughs. Dane Rourke, A-rank, Vance's favorite, the kind of student who is confused being well-fed and well-trained with being formidable. Don't waste a duel on it, Hallowell, Rourke says. Gray coats don't fight. They kneel. Watch. And he steps in close to me into the space a man steps into when he means to make you step back and puts a hand flat on my chest and shoves. I do not step back. I do not collect either, not in a colonnade, not over a shove. But when his hand lands on my chest, I let the smallest thread of the book run the wrong way, The same 11-point nothing I gave Bryce, and Dane Rourke's elbow simply gives out mid-shove, folding him a half step into me instead of me away from him, so that the great public humbling he planned turns into him stumbling against the worst cadet in the school while the gallery watches. Careful, I tell him, steadying him by the arm like a friend. The stones are slick. He pulls back, red-faced, certain he was made a fool of and unable to say how. It is a small thing, but the gallery saw it, and small things stacked are how a reputation is built. The crowd loves the duel even more for it. A duel between the second-ranked Bladesinger and the worst cadet in the school is not a fight. It is an execution they get to watch for free. I should refuse. The smart move is to refuse. But I am thinking about my mother's letter in my satchel, and the district we came from, and every Hallowell who ever decided a person was worth nothing and was applauded for it. All right, I say. The duel ring fills to the rafters. Wren finds a place at the rail, her hands white on the wood. Somewhere in the upper tiers, a crimson coat sits very still and watches. Bryce takes the floor like he was born on it, a rank, blade already singing, every motion the product of 100,000 silver in training. I take the floor in a gray coat with no weapon at all, and the laughter comes back, warm and certain. I let it be a real fight for 90 seconds. I want them to see it. I want the gallery leaning forward, certain of the ending, when I take it away from them. He comes at me fast and I give ground and the crowd roars, because this is the part they paid for, the gray coat backpedaling, the Bladesinger toying with his food. Bryce's blade opens my shoulder, a shallow cut, first blood. The ledger ticks, +30, my own wound paid to my own book. He grins and circles for the finish, playing to the tears, milking it, and that is the moment I have been waiting for, the moment his guard opens because he is bowing to his own audience. I reach out with one open hand the way a man reaches to steady someone, and I collect. -2,000. Target, Bryce Hallowell. His sword arm dies. Not metaphor. 2,000 points of harm route through the perfect, expensive A-rank arm all at once, and it simply stops being an arm he can use, nerveless, dropping, the blade ringing on the stone. Bryce stares at his own hand the way he did in the yard, except this time it does not come back, and this time 300 people are watching the second-best Bladesinger in the academy fall to his knees in front of a Mender who never threw a punch. The gallery has gone silent. Even Rourke has gone silent. I step over the fallen sword. I crouch to his eye level so he can hear me under the hush. You held my whole life over a cistern, I say quietly, for fun. Remember that when you try to work out what just happened. You'll never prove it. That's the part I'd think about if I were you. Then I straighten, and I put my hand on his ruined arm and I give half of it back, closing enough of the damage that the academy healers will be able to finish the rest, banking the giving as the book always banks it, so that the very mercy that saves his arm makes me richer. Enough that no one can call it permanent. Enough that the only person in the world who knows what truly happened is him. Mender wins, the evaluator says, into a silence you could pour into a cup. 241st to 92nd. And a gallery full of people who came to watch me die, now looking at me the way you look at a thing you thought you understood and suddenly do not. At the rail, Wren is crying and laughing and does not seem to know which. It is, I think, the first time in her life she has watched a gray coat win anything. She finds me that night where I knew she eventually would. The infirmary roof. The one place in Caldress nobody climbs, where I come to be no one for an hour. Seraphine Valecrest pulls herself over the ledge in a plain coat with her crimson colors left behind. And for a moment she is not the first of 300. She is just a tired girl who climbed a roof to find me. You didn't tell anyone, she says. About the flame hall. About what's wrong with me. She sits an arm's length away, looking at the city lights instead of at me. You could have. The boy who saved the great Valecrest. You'd have a sponsor by morning. A house. Everything a charity placement is supposed to crawl for. It's not mine to tell, I say. She is quiet a while. Then lo, it's getting worse. The scorch. Every spell I cast I feel it take a little more. The healers say a year, maybe 2, and they say it kindly, like that's a mercy. Her jaw tightens. I am the strongest person in this academy, and I am going to burn to death in front of all of them, slowly, and there is nothing the best healers in the crown can do about it. Do you know what that's like? To be the answer to everyone else's problem and have no one who can be the answer to yours. There's me, I say. She looks at me then. I can't cure it, I tell her honest, because she has had enough kind lies. Not yet. It's bigger than anything I've held. But I can pull it back the way I did. As often as you need. For as long as it takes me to get strong enough to take all of it at once, I meet her eyes. You're not going to burn. Not while I'm here. That's not a sponsor's promise. It's a mender's. For a moment, the proud line of her shoulders does something complicated. She looks back at the light so I will not see it. Why, she says, I've never said a kind word to you. Nobody in my family would cross the street for someone in a gray coat. My father would have you whipped for sitting this close to me. I think about how much to tell her. Then I tell her the true thing, the one I have never said out loud to anyone but a 16-year-old at a doorway. My mother died of a wound a mender could have closed in 30 seconds, I say. We lived in a district where no real healer would come. I was 9. I sat with her for 2 days because the only person who would have helped us was worth 5 silver, and 5 silver isn't worth the trip. I shrug, and it costs me more than I let it. So I help everyone. The ranking, the silver, what they call me, none of it was ever the point. The point is that nobody should sit in a cold room for 2 days, because the person who could save them did the arithmetic and stayed home. You were just the first person who needed it that everyone else was watching. Seraphine Valecrest does not say she is sorry. She is not built for it, and I would not believe her if she did. Instead, she takes a small thing from her coat, a vial of crushed mana herb, rarer than my whole year's stipend, and sets it on the stone between us and says gruffly, "For the cut on your shoulder. From the duel. Don't let it scar, it'll ruin your tragic little story." It is from her an entire confession. There's a girl, I say after a while. Another mender. Ren. 16. She's on the bottom of the rankings with me, which means she's on the cull list with me, which means come spring they send her to a breach line to be worth 5 silver. I look at the lights. I can climb out. I don't know how to make them stop doing it to her. I keep her near me and I tell myself that's enough, and it isn't. Seraphine is quiet. Then the cull isn't random, you know. The bottom 30. People think it's the weak getting weeded. It isn't. My family sits on enough crown ledgers that I've heard the word for it. Her mouth thins. A location. Like it's grain, she glances at me. If you want to know why they really fill the bottom of the rankings with gray coats, Arden, stop climbing the board and start reading it. I file that away. I file everything away. It is the most useful thing anyone has said to me in 11 weeks. We sit on the roof a while longer, the strongest and the weakest student in the academy, and say almost nothing, and it is the first hour in years I have not felt alone. The peace lasts until morning, when the notice goes up. House Hallowell has filed a formal petition for the expulsion of Cadet Cade Arden on grounds of unsanctioned and unnatural ability. They could not beat me in the ring. So now the family is going to do what families like the Hallowells always do. Buy the ending instead. A noble petition is not a trial. That is the first thing I learn. A trial has rules. A petition has a price, and the only question is who is willing to pay it. Instructor Garrick Vance volunteers to be the price. He cannot have me expelled outright. Too many people watched me set a 9-minute record and drop an A-rank bladesinger. So he does what men like him do. He smiles and he agrees that the fairest thing, the only fair thing, is one more evaluation. A real one. Under his supervision. To settle the question of whether my ability is safe. He schedules it for the deep training pits. He keys the monster wards himself. And the night before, I climb to the roof and watch the yard, and I see a supply cart go down to the pits that should not be going down to the pits. Too heavy, too late, 2 men I do not know walking it down under cloth. I understand exactly what tomorrow is supposed to be. He is not testing me. He is going to release something the wards should have caught, and let it do the thing his clean little breach assignment failed to do. A monster does not get an inquiry. A monster gets a moment of silence and a line in a ledger. So I do something I have never done. I go down to the pits in the dark, alone after the 2 men have gone, and I find the wardstone Vance keyed, and I read it. I cannot change it, I am no warden. But I can read what is written there the way I read a body, and what is written there is not a rank 2 construct. I memorize the gate line exactly. Then I go back up and I sleep, because tomorrow I am going to need to look surprised, and a man who has not slept cannot act surprised. He can only be tired. The evaluation fills the gallery. Vance has made sure of it, made sure the whole academy will witness the dangerous Mender fail safely. Seraphine is in the front row, jaw set, because I told her nothing and she knows me well enough now to know that means I am planning something. Ren is beside her because Seraphine, without a word about it, has started letting the graycoat girls stand where the first of 300 stands, and no one has dared to say a thing. A simple clearance, Vance announces, warm, reasonable for the crowd. Rank 2 construct. Cadet Arden need only survive it. If his ability is what he claims, this will be trivial. He triggers the gate. And the thing that comes out is not rank 2. It is a pit revenant. B rank, easily, a thing of stitched corpses and old battlefield mana, 4 arms and a smell like a grave in summer, exactly the sort of accident that kills a cadet and ends an inquiry in the same afternoon. The gallery's cheer curdles into a scream. Vance arranges his face into surprise. A malfunction. A tragedy. Who could have known? I could have known. I did. Instructor, I call up to him, over the Revenant's roar, loud enough for every soul in the gallery to hear. You keyed the wards yourself last night. I watched you. So before this thing kills me, for the record, was it a rank 2 construct you logged or a B rank Revenant? Because the gate only opens to what's written in the ledger, and someone wrote this in. Word for word, instructor, shall I tell the gallery the exact gate line you set? I read it last night. I can recite it. The word ledger I choose on purpose. He flinches at it without knowing why. And the offer to recite, that lands harder than the accusation because a liar can deny a claim, but he cannot deny a thing the accused has memorized in front of 300 witnesses the night before it can be checked. And the gallery, which a moment ago was watching a tragic accident, is now watching an instructor go pale at an accusation, with 300 witnesses, the night before all of it can be checked. Then I stop talking, because the Revenant is on me, and it is time to show them the other thing. I do not run. I walk into it. The thing about a fortune is that you can afford to be generous. I let the Revenant hit me, a raking blow from one of those 4 arms that opens my side, and I gasp and the gallery gasps, Ren's cry the loudest of them, and the ledger ticks, plus 1,100, my own blood paid to my own book. I let it hit me again because I want them afraid, I want them certain, plus 1,400. I am for 10 terrible seconds exactly the dying Mender Vance promised them, on one knee bleeding, a thing worth 5 silver about to be a thing worth nothing. And then I put both hands on the Revenant, as if to heal it, as if to beg it, and I pour everything I have been saving into reverse. Collect. Minus 8,000. Target, the pit Revenant. It comes apart. Not dramatically. The way the Gravmaw did, quietly, completely, a stitch thing whose stitches all let go at once, every borrowed arm and grave-cold muscle simply ceasing to be held together, collapsing into the parts it was made from. I stand over it, bleeding from a side I have not bothered to close, in front of 300 people, and I look up at Garrick Vance, who released a B-rank monster to murder a student and has just watched the student walk through it. Trivial, I say. You were right. The inquiry he wanted for me opens for him by nightfall. The ward logs are pulled, and the gate line I recited in front of 300 witnesses matches the log exactly, down to the word, which is a thing that can only be true if I read it the night before, which means I was telling the truth about watching him, which means he was lying about everything. He swears it was tampered with. Maybe a sympathetic board would have believed him, a week ago before 300 cadets heard a Mender call the shot before it happened. Vance does not get expelled. Men like him rarely pay the full price. But he is suspended from evaluations, stripped of his ward keys and marked, and every cadet in the academy now knows that the instructor tried to have a student killed, and the student saw it coming. It should feel like a victory. It almost does. It stops feeling like one in the records hall, where I go that night, because of what Seraphine said on the roof, stop climbing the board and start reading it, and where an old archivist, half asleep and not paying attention to who he is talking to, says the thing that changes everything. Menders, he mutters, stamping the cull ledgers I have asked to see under the pretext of a clerical errand. Haven't had trouble over a Mender in, a long time. Not since they stopped being on the cull lists by accident, he chuckles. You know the bottom 30 aren't really random, son. Old arrangement. Crown pays the Academy a bounty for every Mender sent down to the breach line. Per head. Cheaper than pensioning a class nobody wants. Been that way since before the records I keep. I go very still. A bounty. For sending Menders to die. 5 silver ahead, if I recall. He yawns, oblivious, turning the great ledger so the lamplight falls on a column of entries 20 years deep. Same as the issue cost. Tidy little sum over the years for whoever signs the call. See, there. And there. Gray coats go to the bottom goes to the line pays the bounty. Round and round. I look where his finger lands. Entry after entry. A name, a rank, a class, a date, and a figure in the margin. 5 silver. 5 silver. 5 silver. A column of children sold by the head for the price of their own bandages, and at the bottom of every page the same signature. 5 silver a head. The exact price of my life. Not a coincidence. A receipt. And 3 pages from the front, near the bottom of the current term, in a clerk's neat hand, Ren. Mender. Awaiting allocation. I do not let my face move. A mender learns to keep his hands steady over a wound no matter what the wound looks like, and this is just another wound, the biggest one I have ever read. I ask the archivist, idle as if it were nothing, whether the bounty was always 5 silver. He warms to it the way lonely old men warm to anyone who will listen. Always. Crown sets the rate by the issue cost, see, so it never looks like much. Genius, really. Nobody steals a child worth 5 silver. Nobody investigates one. You'd have to add up 20 years of 5 silvers before the number got big enough to frighten anyone. And who adds up gray coats? He chuckles. There was one who tried. Years back. Mender, clever like you, got into these very ledgers, started adding. Headmaster had a quiet word, and then the boy had a quiet season on the line, and that was that. Funny, the things that go quiet around here. I added up. While he talks, I run my eyes down 20 years of columns and I add it up, the way no one was ever supposed to, and the number that comes out the bottom is large enough to frighten a kingdom. I copy what I can into the back of my mother's letter, in small letters, by feel, without looking down, while I keep the old man talking about the weather and the war and the price of ink. Dates. Figures. The charter seal in the margin where the money comes in. The same signature where it goes out. Evidence is only evidence if it survives the man who made it, and I intend for this to survive everyone. Mistress Aldous, the head librarian, passes the desk once and looks at the gray coat bent over the great ledgers and opens her mouth to have me thrown out, and the archivist, bless his loneliness, waves her off. He's helping me with the reconciliation, mistress. Bright lad. She frowns and moves on and never knows she just let the reckoning walk out under her nose in the back of a dead woman's letter. The cull was never a meritocracy. It is a harvest. And the bottom of the rankings is not where the Academy puts its failures. It is where the Academy sells the class no one will miss. And the man whose signature has been on every cull list for 20 years is the one person above Vance, above the Hallowells, above all of it. Headmaster Soren Vale. I do not move against the headmaster yet. You do not swing at the top of a ladder while you are still on the 3rd rung. So I climb. I spend the next weeks turning the fortune behind my eyes into something the world can see. The book lets me pour itself into my own body, 2 points spent for everyone kept, and so quietly, in the dark, I begin to make the Mender into something else. Not flashy. I will never throw fire. But strength and speed and a body that does not tire, built one secret conversion at a time. And I keep healing, everywhere, constantly, the kitchens, the stables, the lower districts on my rest days, so that for every 1,000 I pour into myself, the wounded of Caldris pour 2 back, and the book never empties, and no one ever sees the engine for the smoke. Convert. Minus 6,000. Permanent. The numbers in the book go down. The numbers the assessors would measure go up. And in the practical rankings I climb and climb. Dane Rourke is the first to learn what that means. He corners me in an open combat eval, certain a gray coat with good reflexes is still a gray coat, and he is fast, genuinely fast, A-rank fast. But I have spent a breech line's worth of stranger's wounds on being faster, and when his blade comes I am simply not where it expects me, and when I touch his wrist, just touch it, the way a mender checks a pulse. I let a thread run backward, and his grip opens, and his celebrated A-rank technique falls apart in his hands in front of the proctors. He never lands a blow. No one can say why. 92nd to 40th. The next week it is a bulwark who has never been knocked off his feet, and I do not knock him off his feet. I simply heal the bruises off a dozen cadets in the yard beforehand and walk into his eval holding more than he weighs, and when he braces I collect a fraction of it through his own planted boots and he sits down, hard, astonished, in the dirt. 40th to 19th. The one that frightens them is Lady Cressida Harrow, a Hallowell cousin, rank adjacent and certain of it, who demands the eval herself to put the gray coat back in his place in front of the whole gallery, and to avenge Bryce, since the family cannot. She is a frostbinder. She freezes the ground I stand on, the air I breathe, the blood she promises, the tears she will leave me shivering in. The crowd loves it. A noble girl, beautiful and cruel, against a 5 silver life. They have already written the ending. So have I. I let the cold reach me. I let it bite and bank what it does to me, plus 600, plus 800, until the gallery is sure I am freezing to death on schedule. Then I press one bare hand flat to the ice she has made, and I collect every point of it back through the frost into her, so that the frostbinder who has never felt her own cold suddenly feels all of it at once, and folds, gasping, white-lipped, beaten by her own winner in front of 300 people who came to watch her win. I thaw her before it does damage. I always thaw them. But the gallery has seen it now, twice, 3 times, a pattern they cannot name, that the harder you hit the mender, the harder something hits you back, and no blade ever leaves his hand. 19th, and a school full of people who have stopped wanting to be the next to test it. A gray coat in the top 20. It has never happened. The gallery does not laugh anymore. The gallery has started very quietly to be afraid. 9th, by the end of the month. It is Seraphine who teaches me to fight properly in the end, though neither of us would call it that out loud. It starts as a checkup. She comes to the roof every few nights now so I can pull the scorch back before it builds, and one night, lighter than she has been in years, she stands instead of sitting and says, "Show me. The thing you did to Rourke. The thing nobody can see," and before I can refuse, she throws a bolt of fire at my chest, casual as a greeting, trusting me entirely to survive it, which is its own kind of confession. I take it. Plus 400, my own scorched coat paid to my own book. You could have killed me. You could have stopped me. You didn't, which means you knew you'd be fine, which means you trust the book more than you trust me, which is rude but fair. She circles me, gold eyes sharp. You waste it. You hold a fortune and you spend it like a man who grew up poor, terrified, in 11-point threads, only when you have to. Stop it. You're not poor anymore, Arden. Learn to be rich. So she trains me. Not in fire, I will never throw fire. In timing. In how to let a blow land so the wound becomes ammunition. In how to read the half-second before an opponent commits, the way I read a body, and collect through the very motion they think will beat me. She is the strongest person in the academy, and she spends her nights teaching the weakest how to be dangerous. And somewhere in it the two of us stop pretending it is only a checkup. "Why are you helping me?" I ask her once, breathing hard, a bruise blooming where her flame clipped me. Really? She is quiet a moment. "Because for 19 years, everyone who ever helped me wanted something my class could give them," she says. "You're the only person I've met who looked at me dying and didn't see a flame caller worth saving. You just saw someone in a cold room." She turns away, gathering her fire back. "I don't have a word for what that is. But I'm not going to let them put it on a cull list. Now, again, and this time don't flinch when it touches you. You never flinch for them. Don't you dare start flinching for me." We train until the city lights go out one by one. I climb 3 more places that week, and not one of the cadets I beat will ever know that the first of 300 taught the last of 300 how to do it. On a roof, in the dark, for no reason either of them will say. That is when Lord Aldrich Hallowell comes to Caldris in person. He does not summon me. Men like him do not summon. He simply arranges to be in the right corridor with the right 2 guards and the right cold smile the day he knows I will pass. "You've cost my son a great deal," he says. His arm. His standing. His confidence, that's the expensive one. Confidence doesn't come back the way an arm does. He studies me like a ledger of his own. "I've looked into you, Mender. No house. No sponsor. A dead mother in a district I wouldn't send a dog to. You are exactly as alone as a person can be." A pause. "Alone people have accidents. Or alone people accept generous offers and leave quietly. I'm giving you the choice my son didn't have the wit to give you. Take the silver. Disappear. Or be disappeared." I look at Lord Aldrich Hallowell, who has the power to do exactly what he is threatening, and who has never once in his life been refused by someone he could ruin. You did look into me, I say. But you looked at the wrong ledger. I do not touch him. I would never be so crude in a corridor with 2 witnesses. Instead, I tell him the truth because the truth aimed correctly does more damage than any spell. Your house money comes through the coastal charter, I say, and watch his smile slip a single degree, because that is not public, and he is wondering how a gray coat knows it. The charter's been underwriting crown bounties for 20 years. Quiet little per-head payments the Academy collects for filling the breach line. I lean in just slightly. 5 silver a mender. Your family has been banking the harvest, Lord Hallowell. Down to the entry. I've seen the column. 20 years of children sold by the head, and the money runs uphill to you. I let that sit. And I can read a body well enough to read a man, and you did not know that last part until I just said it. Which means your son's grudge has dragged you into standing next to something you'd very much rather not be standing next to when it comes out. I have, of course, no proof I can yet put in a crown's hand. But he does not know how much I have. He only knows that the alone, friendless, easily disappeared Mender just laid his family's worst secret on the corridor floor between them, calmly by name with the word column in it. Make me have an accident, I say, stepping back. Please. An accident now, to the cadet who just said coastal charter out loud, will be the least subtle thing your house has ever done. Or you can go home, Lord Hallowell, and start deciding which name you're going to hand the crown when this breaks. Because it's going to break. I've decided. I leave him in the corridor. I do not look back. Looking back is for people who are not sure they have won. The Hallowells stop. Not out of mercy, out of arithmetic. A house that lives on a secret cannot afford to make a martyr of the one person saying it out loud. The petition dies. The accidents do not come. And the Academy notices. Of course it notices. A Mender stared down House Hallowell and the house blinked. It is Seraphine who makes it impossible to ignore. She does it in the Great Hall at the ranking assembly, in front of the entire Academy and a row of Crown observers, when the headmaster's proctor regretfully raises the open question of Cadet Arden's unverified and unnatural methods one more time, the soft groundwork that precedes an expulsion. Seraphine Valecrest, first of 300, the prodigy the whole institution is built around, stands up. I'll verify them, she says, and the hall goes silent. 6 weeks ago I collapsed in the flame hall of Mana Scorch. 3 crown healers wrote me a death sentence. Ask them, the records exist. She does not look at me. She looks at the proctor, at the row of observers, at all of it. Cadet Arden walked past every one of them and pulled the fire out of me with his hands. I am standing here because the worst-ranked student in this academy is better at the one thing that matters than the best healers the crown could buy. Her chin lifts. If the academy wants to expel him for being unnatural, then put it in writing that you expelled the only person alive who can keep me alive. I'll sign as witness. Will you sign as cause? No one signs anything. The proctor folds. The question dies. And the great hall stares at the 2 of us, the strongest and the no longer weakest, and understands that something has shifted in Caldris that the rankings have not caught up to yet. Afterward, in the emptying hall, I find her. You didn't have to do that. You just told the whole crown what's wrong with you. You handed every enemy you have a knife. Yes, well, she is already pulling her cold composure back on, but it does not quite fit the way it used to. Now they all know I'll die without you. Which means they'll think twice before they let anyone disappear you. A faint, dangerous smile. I'm protecting my investment, Arden. Don't read anything into it. Wouldn't dream of it, I say. And neither of us believes me, and for once that is a good thing. That night I do the math I have been avoiding. Ren's name is on the 3rd page. The cull posts at term's end. I am 9th now, safe, climbed clean out of the harvest, but climbing only ever saved me. It never saved her. There is only one way to take a gray coat off an allocation list for good, and it is not to climb past it. It is to burn the list. House Hallowell makes one more move before I can. They cannot touch me now. I have made myself too public, too useful, too dangerous to disappear. So they do what cornered power always does. They reach for the thing I love instead. It comes as a theft. A set of Lady Hallowell's heirloom rings gone from a locked case during a charity a size the cadets were made to staff, and found, of course, in the bunk of a 16-year-old gray coat with no house, no sponsor, and no one to speak for her. Ren is dragged in front of a disciplinary board before the lunch bell, white and shaking, a thief by arrangement, and the sentence for a charity placement cadet caught stealing from a house is not expulsion. It is immediate allocation. The breach line. They have found a way to put her on a cull of 1 this week without my name anywhere near it. I didn't, she keeps saying to a room that has already decided. I didn't, Cade. I know, I say, and step in front of the board, and I do not raise my voice, because the quiet thing is always the more frightening thing. She didn't. And I can prove it in about a minute, which is more courtesy than this deserves. I turn to the proctor. The case was warded. A warded lock keeps a record of every hand that opens it. Same as a breach gate, same principle. The academy runs on the same magic top to bottom. Pull the ward log. If Ren opened that case, her mana signature is on it. A Mender's signature is the rarest thing in this building. It will not be there, I let that land. What you will find is whichever Hallowell footman they paid to plant the rings. So, shall we read the log? Or shall we all admit right now in front of these witnesses that no one expected the gray coat to know the locks keep ledgers too? The proctor does not pull the log. He does not have to. The room reads his face, and the Hallowell agent in the corner reads the door, and Ren is unbound and uncharged inside of 5 minutes, and the only thing that comes of it is that one more powerful family has learned the same lesson the others learned, that everything in Caldris keeps a record, and I have made it my business to read every record there is. Afterward, in the corridor, Ren cannot stop shaking. They were going to sense me, she whispers. Just like that. Over rings I never touched. That fast. Yes, I say. That fast. That's how it's always worked for people like us. The only thing that changed today is that someone read the log out loud. I crouched to her eye level the way I crouched to Pim's. I'm going to make it so they can't do that anymore. Not to you, not to the next gray coat, not to anyone. I need you to be brave a little longer while I do. Can you do that? She nods. And I stand up knowing I have run out of weeks, because a house that will frame a child is a house that has stopped being careful, and careless power is the kind that gets people killed before the clever plan is ready. The list has to burn now, which means I have to go up the ladder to the one whose name is on it. Headmaster Soren Vale invites me to his office like a man inviting a problem to sit down so he can decide where to bury it. He is nothing like Vance, nothing like the Hallowells. He is gentle, grandfatherly. He pours tea I do not drink and tells me how proud the academy is of my remarkable journey. And the whole time his eyes are doing the arithmetic of how much I cost and how much I am worth, and whether the difference can be made to disappear quietly. You've stirred up some old settled things, he says kindly. The cull. Tradition, you understand. Necessary. The breach line must be fed, and better a class the world can spare than a Bladesinger we've spent a fortune on. You see the sense in it. A clever boy like you. I see the sense in 5 silver ahead, I say. His teacup pauses on the way to his lips. Just for a moment. Then the warm smile returns wider. I have no idea what you mean. You signed it for 20 years, I say. Every cull. Every mender sent down to die so the crown could pay the academy, pay you, the exact price of the bandages they were issued. You've been selling the only class that exists to save lives by the head for the cost of a bandage. I set my untouched tea down. There's a girl on this term's list. Ren, 16, page 3. I'm going to take her off it, and then I'm going to end the whole arrangement. I wanted you to hear it from me first. Tradition. The grandfather goes out of his face like a lamp. You are a 5 silver life, Arden, Soren Vale says softly. I have signed away 1,000 of you. Do you imagine you're the first clever mender who worked it out? They went down to the breach line, too. There was a boy 12 years ago, brighter than you, I think, who stood in this office and said almost exactly what you've said. The line was very quiet that season. We had to arrange for it not to be, he folds his hands. The cull list for this term posts in 3 days. It's a tragedy how often a promising cadet has one bad evaluation at exactly the wrong moment. You or the girl. The list has room for sentiment if you insist on having any. So that is the shape of it. He cannot expel me with Seraphine and the whole hall watching. But the cull is his, signed in his own hand, 20 years deep, and he is going to find me a bad day and feed me, or Ren, to make it hurt, to the very harvest I came to end. I have 3 days. I do not get 3 days. The breach gives me one. It tears open under the academy itself, not Sector 9 miles away where the cadets go to be blooded. Under Caldress. The deepest training pits where Vance once tried to murder me, split along a seam no one knew was there, and a breach the size of the Great Hall opens directly beneath 3,000 students and staff. This is the thing the Cull was always pretending to prepare for, and never actually did. A mass casualty event in the one place everyone assumed was safe, with the S-rank response teams an hour away on the far breach lines because no one ever thought the wound would open here. The monsters come up into the lower halls, and people start dying, not soldiers, not cadets blooded for it, but first year's kitchen staff, the boy from the stables. Pim. I find him in the lower corridor with a beam across his legs and a breach hound deciding whether he is worth the trouble. I take the hound off him without breaking stride, collect a flick, gone, and lift the beam and close the legs, and the book ticks. And I do not even read it, because down the corridor I can already hear what is worse. I can hear gray coats. Ren and Tobin and the others, the 4 of us, herded by instinct toward the wounded the way Menders always are, into a collapsing hall full of things that eat the wounded first. Tobin is already down when I reach them. Tobin, who told me not to climb, who decided the line would take him eventually so he might as well not try. The line came to him in the end, under the academy, and there was no horn and no warning, and I am 30 feet too far away. I take what the hound did to him and I undo it, and I bank it, and it is not enough, because some things even a full ledger cannot call back once they are spent. Tobin dies looking almost relieved, as if he had been waiting a long time to stop being afraid. I have no time to grieve him. Ren is screaming his name and a second hound is coming, and I make a decision that is not a decision at all. I stop hiding what I am. Get behind me, I tell the survivors in the corridor. Cadets, real ones, A ranks and B ranks, frozen because their training never imagined this. Ren. The kitchen staff. A first year with both arms broken. All of you. Behind the Mender. Now. And then I show Caldress, finally in full daylight, what the lowest class on the board can do. I heal everything that bleeds, and I collect it onto everything that doesn't. I move through the lower halls like a tide, and the book runs faster than it has ever run, because a disaster is the richest ground in the world, and I am the only one here who knows how to harvest it. A child's broken legs, plus 800 paid back into the skull of the hound standing over him. A dying kitchen woman, plus 1,500, routed into the thing that gutted her. A whole knot of first years pinned in a stairwell. I close their wounds 2 at a time and spend the closing on the monsters at the top of the stairs, so that the same act saves them and kills the thing hunting them, healing and harm in one motion, the way no other class in the world can do. The librarian, Mistress Aldous, who once threatened to have me thrown out for reading cull ledgers I had no business reading, is trapped under a fallen shelf with a breach hound at her throat. She has spent 20 years deciding people like me did not belong in her hall. I take the hound off her and lift the shelf and close the gash on her arm, and she stares at me the way they all stare, and I do not say anything because the look is enough, and there is a child screaming 2 doors down. A crowned soldier on leave, here to visit a cadet's son, stands over the boy with a broken arm and a kitchen knife, doing the brave, useless thing a father does. I give him back a working sword arm and route what I take into the thing he was about to die against. Behind me, I tell him, and to my astonishment he obeys, a grown soldier falling in behind a gray coat, because in the dark under Caldress rank has stopped meaning anything, and the only currency left is who is still standing between you and the teeth. I find Dane Rourke in the wreckage of the dueling hall, the cadet who shoved me in a colonnade to prove gray coats kneel, pinned and bleeding, and certain he is going to die. I close him without a word. He grabs my wrist as I move to go. Why, he rasps. After what why? Because you're hurt, I tell him. That's the whole reason. That was always the whole reason, and I leave him alive in the dark to think about it. The numbers blur. I stop reading them. I have never held so much, I have never spent so fast. Ledger. 22,000. 31,000. 40,000. The A ranks form up behind me and follow my lead, and for the first time in the history of this place, the strong are taking orders from a gray coat, because the gray coat is the only thing standing between the corridor and the dark. Ren works beside me, terrified, weeping, 16 and closing wounds with steady hands because I am there, and she promised to stay near me, and she has decided, in the worst hour of her life, to be brave. I keep her at my left shoulder the entire time. Whatever else I lose today, I do not lose her. By the time the S-rank teams finally arrive, the breach beneath Caldris is sealed, the lower halls are held, and the casualty lists are a fraction of what they should have been, because a Mender, who was scheduled to be culled in 3 days, spent the disaster carrying the whole academy on his back. They find me in the central hall afterward, swaying on my feet, gray coat black with other people's blood, with Pim asleep and whole against one wall, and Ren asleep against my side, and 40 people alive who should not be. And one gray coat laid out under a clean sheet, because even a full ledger has a floor, and I reached it one friend too late. And they find Headmaster Soren Vale, who spent the disaster locked in his office, signing nothing, saving no one. The whole academy is looking at both of us. And the arithmetic for once is not his to do. You would think saving the academy would settle it. It does the opposite. It makes me the most dangerous thing in the crown, a problem that cannot be explained, standing in public with witnesses who love him. So the crown sends the man it sends for problems like me, Duke Castellan, Warden of Anomalies. He arrives 3 days after the breach with a writ that overrides the headmaster, the houses, all of it, and an interest in me that is entirely free of malice, which somehow makes it worse. Vance hated me. The Hallowells feared me. Vale wanted to sell me. Castellan simply wants to understand me and then file me wherever understood anomalies are filed, and I do not think anyone who is filed there is ever heard from again. You undo healing, he says, in the bare room he has commandeered, turning the idea over like a stone. You bank the harm of the world and route it through living things, ignoring rank, ignoring defense. You closed 40 mortal wounds in an afternoon, and a Gravmaw died of nothing on a breach line you happened to be standing on. Do you know what you are, cadet? He does not wait. There was a name for it once. The Crown spent a great deal of effort making sure there wasn't any more. We'll discuss it. At length. Somewhere quieter than this. Somewhere your flamecaller can't make speeches in front of Crown observers. He is not cruel. He is patient and certain, and he has the entire weight of the Crown behind him, and for the first time since I awakened I am genuinely afraid, because the book behind my eyes is not a weapon I can use on a problem like Duke Castellan. Killing a Warden of Anomalies in a Crown writ room does not make me free. It makes me exactly the monster they will have been right to bury, and it puts every gray coat in Caldris 1 inch closer to the line. You're wondering if you could, Castellan says, watching me with the mild interest of a man who has watched a great many people wonder if they could. Reach across this desk and undo me the way you undid the Gravmaw. You could. That's not in question. What's in question is what happens to the girl, and the graycoat child, and the soldiers who sang your praises, the morning after the Crown's warden dies in a sealed room with one Mender in it. He folds his hands. You see the trap. It isn't a cell. It's them. It was always going to be them. The strong I can chain. It's the ones who give that hand me the key themselves. He slides a single sheet across the desk. A name half erased in a hand 200 years old. I cannot read the class beside it. Someone burned that part away on purpose. There was a word for what you are, he says quietly. I'm not going to say it in a room that isn't warded for it. But I'll tell you what it meant. It meant a man who could unmake. Not kill, unmake. Take a thing back to before it was healed, before it was whole, before it was. The Crown did not erase your class because it was weak, cadet. The Crown erased it because it was the only class that ever frightened a king. He takes the sheet back. And the people who did the erasing are still here. Still careful. Still watching for exactly the thing you did under this academy 3 days ago. The vow. You'll meet them. Not today. But you'll meet them, and they will not slide you a piece of paper and a warning. They'll simply make sure you were never written down at all. Take your time deciding to cooperate, he says, rising. I'm patient. And anomalies, in my experience, always spend themselves eventually. On something. On someone. He pauses at the door. They never can just hold the power. That's the flaw in all of you. You give. And that is the night Seraphine starts burning and does not stop. It is the scorch finally come for its full price. Whatever I pulled out of her in the flame hall, in the weeks since, It was always borrowing against a debt I could not yet pay in full. And the disaster under Caldrus, she fought in it, she cast and cast, because of course she did, because she is the first of 300 and people were dying, and every spell fed the fire. I find her in the flame hall again where it started, except this time there are no healers, because the healers have given up, and there is only Seraphine Valecrest burning to death on the floor and refusing, even now, even here, to make a sound that someone might hear. I told you she manages when she sees me. A terrible attempt at a smile. I told you it'd ruin your tragic story. Strongest in the academy. Burned out at 19, her hand finds my sleeve. Don't you dare waste yourself on this. You'll need it. For Castellan. For getting out. For the girl, for Ren, you have to get the girl off that list. You can't do that empty. I did the arithmetic too, Arden. I'm not worth what curing me would cost you. She is right. That is the worst part. I have run the numbers. To pull all of it, not to push it back one more time, but to take the whole scorch, the years of it, every ember down to the root, would cost more than I have ever held, even now, even after the disaster. It would empty the book completely. It would take me past empty, into the place the rule warns about, the hidden floor I have never touched. If you ever heal beyond what you hold, the ledger goes negative. And a mender in debt to his own book is the most vulnerable thing alive. Empty, in an academy crawling with the Warden of Anomalies and his enforcers, the one night I cannot afford to be anything but full. I think about my mother. 2 days in a cold room because the only person who would have helped was worth 5 silver, and 5 silver was not worth the trip. I think about every body I have closed for free in every district no healer would enter. I think about Tobin under a clean sheet, who stopped trying because the world taught him his trying was worth nothing. I think about a roof and a vial of mana herb set down on cold stone, and the first hour in years I did not feel alone. You spent your whole life being worth what other people decided, I tell her. So did I. So did Tobin, and it killed him. I'm done letting them do the arithmetic. I'm done deciding who's worth the trip. Arden Cade, don't. You owe me nothing, I say, the way I said it the first night in the Flame Hall, to a proud girl who hated being saved. That's how it works. The book only fills when I give. And I put both hands over Seraphine Valecrest's burning heart, and I take all of it. Ledger. 38,000. 30,000. 19,000. The fire pours into the book faster than I can think. Years of it, every spell she ever cast coming back to me as the debt it always was, and the numbers fall and fall as I pay them back into nothing, undoing every burn down to the root. 8,000. 2,000. 400. Ledger. 0. She is not cured yet. There is more. There is always more, right at the root, the last and deepest ember, the one the scorch was grown from. So I go past the floor. Ledger. Minus 1,900. The world turns to glass and gray. I have never felt anything like it, the book inverted, the warmth running the wrong way. My own body suddenly a wound I am holding open to pour into someone else. Negative. In debt. The most vulnerable thing alive. My heartbeat stutters, borrowing against nothing. The edges of the flame hall go soft. But the fire goes out. All of it. For the first time in years, Seraphine Valecrest's body is not burning. Her breathing goes deep and clean. The gray leaves her and the color comes back, and her gold eyes open, clear, whole, staring up at me with something I have never let myself want. You idiot, she whispers. You went past 0. I felt it. You're Cade, you're empty, you're worse than empty, You're alive, I say. My voice does not sound like mine. The room is tilting. That's the only number that mattered. And then the door opens and Duke Castellan, Warden of Anomalies, steps into the flame hall and looks at the cured girl, and the swaying Mender, and the unmistakable, impossible thing that just happened, and smiles gently, the way a man smiles when a problem has solved itself by making itself helpless. Cadet Arden, he says almost kindly, you've just spent everything. Haven't you? I did say you always do. I cannot collect. I have nothing to collect with. For the first time since I awakened, the book behind my eyes is not a fortune. It is a debt, and I am the one who owes it. Castellan knows it. He does not even raise his voice. Whatever you are, he says, stepping in, 2 crown enforcers behind him. It runs on a ledger. And you've just emptied yours to save one girl. I've waited for this moment since I read the first report. An anomaly is only dangerous when it's full, he nods to the enforcers. Bind him. Gently. He's worth studying. I cannot stop them. I am on my knees, hollowed out the room going to glass at the edges. This is the arithmetic. Vale and the Halliwells and Castellan all ran and all got right. The Mender is only powerful while the book is full, and I just spent the book on a girl who told me not to. I would do it again. I want that on the record here at the end, with the enforcer's hands closing on my arms. I would do it again. What I forgot, what all of them forgot because they only ever looked at my ledger, is that I am not the only person in this room who keeps accounts. Warden Seraphine Valecrest says, rising from the floor where she was dying 90 seconds ago. You should look at me before you touch him. She lifts one hand and the flame hall fills with light. She is whole. Not stabilized, whole. For the first time in years, the scorch that has been bleeding her power away gone to the root, and all that ruinous world-class strength that used to burn her from the inside now hers to spend without it killing her. The first of 300, finally fully unburdened. The hall floods with heat, every brazier roaring to life at once, and the two enforcers stop where they stand, and Duke Castellan, who came for a hollowed-out Mender, turns to find an unchained S-rank flamecaller standing between him and the door, at the absolute height of a power that no longer has a leash. He emptied his ledger to fill mine, Seraphine says. That was the part you didn't account for, Warden. You said anomalies always spend themselves on someone. You were right. He spent himself on me, and you walked into a room with me at full strength for the first time in my life. The heat builds until the stone itself begins to tick and groan. Cure your own anomaly. Bind your own monster. Touch him, and I will show this academy exactly what the Crown spent so much effort making sure no one remembers a flamecaller can do. Castellan is not a fool. A warden of anomalies above all knows how to read a board. And the board has changed. Not a lone, friendless Mender to be quietly filed, but a Mender shielded by an S-rank with a debt of her own to pay, in front of an academy that watched him carry it through the dark 3 days ago, with 40 witnesses who are alive because of him. The reports, he says slowly, recalculating, did mention the two of you were difficult to separate. He gestures and the enforcers step back. Anomalies that are loved, Cadet, are a great deal more trouble than anomalies that are alone. You've made yourself the second kind. Clever, he inclines his head, to me then deeper, to Seraphine. This is not finished. There is a name for what you are, and the people who erased it will not be as reasonable as I am. The vow does not file its problems. It ends them. They ended the last Mender who learned to read his own book, 12 years ago, I believe, in a headmaster's office. You've bought time. Spend it well. You always do. The vow. The same word the old archivist circled around. The same shadow behind the erased history of the Menders the boy Vale said the line was arranged to swallow. A reckoning named at last, and left deliberately for another day. Then Duke Castellan, Warden of Anomalies, does the thing no one in the Crown has ever done for a 5 silver life. He leaves him standing. The reckoning, when it comes, is quieter than I expected, and sweeter. It comes in the Great Hall at the close of the term, where it all started. The same gallery, the same 300, the same ranking board that once put my name dead last with a sword at my eye. Except the board reads differently now, and the things that come out are receipts. Seraphine, full and unburdened and furious on behalf of someone for the first time in her life, brought the coastal charter to the Crown observers. The bounty ledgers, the per-head payments, 20 years of Menders sold to the breach line for 5 silver a head, signed at the bottom every time, in the same hand. And I brought the archivist, who did not even understand until he heard the gasp run through the hall, that the clerical errand he had helped a polite young cadet with was the rope that hanged a headmaster. Soren Vale does not get to be grandfatherly at his own undoing. The headmaster who sold 1,000 Menders to die so the academy could collect the price of their bandages, who told me to my face that he had arranged for a brighter boy than me to be swallowed by a quiet season on the line, is led out of the great hall in front of the institution he ran, and the silence that follows him is the loudest sound I have ever heard. 12 years too late for the boy and his story. Not too late for Wren. Garrick Vance, who released a monster to murder a student, goes with him. And House Halliwell, who banked the harvest, who held my whole life over a cistern for fun, does not fall all at once because houses never do. But the charter is public now. The name is out. Lord Aldrich will spend the rest of his life handing the crown other names to save his own, and Bryce will spend the rest of his watching a gray coat live rent-free in the back of his mind, never able to prove a single thing. I never threw a punch at any of them. I want that understood. I closed wounds and I kept accounts, and I let the people who decided I was worth nothing keep right on deciding it until the day the arithmetic came due. And the academy that watched it happen does a thing I did not expect. It does not just gasp and move on. The soldiers from Sector 9 come, Garen at the front of them, the spearman who wanted my name, the stormcaller whose arm I knit back on, and they stand in the great hall in their crown gray and they tell it. How a mender held the rear of a breach a whole squad ran from. How 40 men who were left to die walked home. The captain who wrote cause of death unknown stands up and amends his report in front of the crown observers, and the lie I told to stay invisible becomes at last the truth that makes me impossible to bury. Hale, the B-rank whose cracked shield I saved without his knowing, finds me in the crowd and cannot quite make his mouth work, and finally just grips my shoulder hard the way Garen did and lets go, and that is all, and it is everything. The first year with the eye I closed brings his mother to look at me. Mistress Aldous, who guarded her library against gray coats for 20 years, has left a chair empty at the front of her hall with my name on a card, and will not meet my eye, and means it as the apology she is too proud to say. This is the part the men with the swords never understood. They thought the danger was the book behind my eyes. The danger was never the book. The danger was that I closed wounds for free in districts and stairwells and on breach lines for years, with no name and no thanks, and every single one of those wounds was a person, and people remember. You can demote a class. You cannot demote a debt that walks around on 2 legs and tells the story. I did not build an army. I built a city full of people who are alive because of the worst cadet in Caldris, and on the day the arithmetic came due, they all stood up at once. And then the thing I climbed for more than any ranking. The cull is struck. Not reformed, struck, the whole rotten arrangement, read into the crown record and ended, because you cannot keep a harvest running once the whole world has seen the receipts. The allocation lists burn. Ren's name comes off the 3rd page. No gray coat goes down to the breach line to be worth 5 silver a head this term or any term after it. Tobin is still gone. I carry that. The list ended 1 season too late for him, the way the Mender ended 1 season too late for my mother. But it ended. Some boy 12 years from now will never sit in a cold room wondering why no one came, and that is the only kind of victory I have ever wanted, the only arithmetic that was ever the point. The board posts the final rankings. Arden K. Mender. First of 300. A gray coat at the very top where a 5 silver life is not supposed to go. The gallery does not laugh. The gallery stands. I find Pym in the lower yard after, the way I found him the first day, except his hand is whole and he is not afraid of anyone anymore. They're saying you're the strongest in the school, he says, awed. The Mender. They're wrong, I tell him, and I mean it. I'm the one who shows up. Turns out that's worth more than they priced it. Ren is waiting by the arch, off the list, alive, a gray coat who is going to get to grow up. She does not say thank you. She has learned the way I taught her that some kindnesses want to keep their secrets. She just falls into step half a pace behind me the way she always has, except now it is not because she is afraid. It is because she has somewhere to stand. There is a grave to visit first before the roof. They buried Tobin in the cadet's yard, under a stone that finally gives a gray coat his full name, because I made sure of it. Tobin had a name and a class that saved lives, and he died being treated like 5 silver, and I will not let the stone pretend otherwise. I stand there a while in the evening cold. I do not say much. I tell him the list is burned. I tell him he was right that they harvest us, and wrong that the only choice was to stop trying. I tell him I am sorry I was 30 feet too far away, the way the world was always 30 feet too far away, the way no one came for my mother. Then I do the only thing I have ever known how to do with grief, which is to turn it into a promise and carry it. Ren is waiting at the edge of the yard when I come back. She has started carrying a mender's satchel of her own now, properly stocked, and she has been spending her afternoons in the lower districts, the ones no real healer will visit, closing wounds for free, because she asked me how a person learns to be worth more than 5 silver, and I told her the truth. You decide the price the crown put on you is wrong, and then you spend your whole life proving it, one stranger at a time. She is 16 and off a cull list and learning to give. The book she will never have does not matter. The choice is the same choice. The choice was always the only thing that mattered. They're going to come for you, she says quietly. The ones the Duke talked about. The vow. Everyone's saying it. I know. Are you afraid? I think about a sword a hair from my eye and a gallery laughing and a number only I could see. No, I tell her and mean it. Being afraid never closed a single wound. Stay near me when they come. Whatever else happens. Stay where I can reach you. She nods. This time she believes it. That evening I climb to the infirmary roof, and she is already there in her crimson colors, the strongest person in the academy, and for once not dying. First of 300, Seraphine says. I'm going to have to call you something other than 5 silver. You'll manage. She is quiet a while, looking at the city lights. The same city, the same lights, a different 2 people than the ones who sat here weeks ago. Then she takes my hand deliberately, the way you make a decision out loud. It's not finished, she says. Castellan meant it. The vow, whatever it is, they erased your whole class from history. They killed the last man who learned to read his own book, and they will come for the one who just did it in front of the entire crown. Her grip tightens. But they'll have to come through the first of 300. And whatever you are, whatever they made sure no one remembers, you're not alone for it. I keep accounts too. I owe you 1 life. I intend to spend a long time paying it back. You owe me nothing, I say, the way I have said it every time. That's how the book works. I know how your book works, she says, and almost smiles. I'm telling you how mine does. We sit on the roof a long while, the strongest and the no longer weakest, the flame caller and the mender, 2 people the world tried to price and got wrong. Behind my eyes, the book is filling again, slowly, the way it always does, one given thing at a time. A soldier I closed on the way up the stairs. Pym's hand. A fevered child in the lower district this morning who will never know the worst cadet in Caldrus is the reason she woke up. The number climbs back from the red past 0 into the black patient as I am. I do not look at it. For the first time since I awakened, I have something better than a fortune behind my eyes. I have a girl off a list who gets to grow up. I have a boy with a whole hand. I have someone sitting beside me who knows exactly what I am and stayed. The fire she carries is warm now instead of killing her. I can feel it from here. I close my eyes and I let the book fill, and I do not feel alone.